From where I stand, at the quiet edge of all things, I watch. My name is Thomas, and some might call me an observer. I look upon countless worlds through what feels like a vast cosmic mirror. But the reflection of your world, the one you inhabit today, is no longer clear. It is fractured. Cracks spread across its surface like a spiderweb, distorting the image of a once proud land. I see a nation that held itself up as a beacon, a place of ideals and strength. Yet through these spreading fissures I see a different story unfolding, one of confusion, anger, and a deep, unsettling sorrow that seems to permeate everything. It is a story not of a sudden cataclysmic event, but of a slow, creeping decay born from choices made and truths ignored. The land I observe is one of immense potential, filled with people of every background and belief. It was founded on principles of freedom and justice, ideas that resonated across the cosmos. But something has shifted. The air, once thick with optimism, now hangs heavy with division. I watch as leaders, entrusted with the great responsibility of steering the ship of state, seem to have lost their maps, or perhaps they have thrown them overboard intentionally. They speak in slogans and sound bites, offering simple answers to profoundly complex problems. Their words are often loud and confident, yet they ring hollow, failing to address the very real pain and anxiety felt by so many of their people. It is a spectacle of performance over substance. I see the consequences rippling through communities, touching lives in ways both big and small. The cracks in the mirror are not just symbolic, they represent real fractures in society. Neighbors now look at each other with suspicion instead of kindness. Families are torn apart by arguments over what is true and what is false. The very concept of a shared reality, a common ground upon which to build a future, seems to be dissolving like sandcastles against a rising tide. This erosion of trust is perhaps the most dangerous crack of all, because without it, the foundations of any society, no matter how strong they once appeared, will inevitably begin to crumble under the weight of their own internal conflicts. Through this fractured lens, I am left to wonder how it came to this. How does a nation with so much promise find itself on such a perilous path? The answer, as I see it from my distant vantage point, is not simple. It is not the fault of a single person or a single event. It is a story about the power of words, the danger of silence, and the slow, almost imperceptible surrender of core values in exchange for comfort or the illusion of strength. It is a tale of a people who for a time forgot the profound responsibility that comes with the gift of freedom. The duty to remain vigilant, to question, and to hold both themselves and their leaders accountable. The current state of affairs did not happen overnight. It was a gradual dimming of the lights, a slow turning down of the volume on the voices of reason and compassion. I watch leaders stand before their people and speak words that are demonstrably untrue. They paint pictures of a world that does not exist, offering blame instead of solutions and fear instead of hope. The most bewildering part is not that they speak these falsehoods, but that so many choose to believe them, or at least to remain silent in the face of them. This silence becomes a character in the story, an invisible force that allows the cracks in the mirror to widen with each passing day. It is a silence that deafens, making it impossible to hear the quiet whispers of truth. I question the integrity of those who wield power without accountability. When a leader is confronted with facts with verifiable evidence and they simply dismiss it, calling it fake or a lie, what happens to the truth? It becomes just another opinion, another commodity to be bought and sold in the marketplace of ideas. The truth loses its inherent authority. When this happens, everything becomes unstable. Justice becomes arbitrary. Compassion becomes a weakness. The moral compass that once guided the nation begins to spin wildly, no longer pointing toward a fixed, reliable north. This is the ultimate goal of those who traffic in deception, to create a world so confusing that people give up trying to find their way. In place of genuine values like honesty, empathy, and service, I see the rise of branding. Everything is about the brand. A political movement is sold like a new soft drink, complete with a logo, a catchy slogan, and a promise of a better life. It is an appeal to emotion, not to intellect. Loyalty to the brand becomes more important than loyalty to the country, to one's neighbors, or even to reality itself. This branding is so effective because it creates a powerful sense of belonging, an us versus them mentality that is simple to understand and deeply seductive. But this allegiance is built on a foundation of sand, not stone, and it offers no real shelter from the storms that are gathering on the horizon. The consequences of this shift are devastating and deeply human. I see people losing their homes because policies favor the powerful over the vulnerable. I see children separated from their parents at the border, their tears unseen and their cries unheard by those who have traded their humanity for political gain. I see the sick go without care, the hungry go without food, and the desperate lose all hope. These are not abstract concepts. They are the real-life results of a society that has allowed its conscience to be silenced. The silence of the many provides the cover for the injustices committed by the few, and everyone eventually pays a price for that quiet complicity. The grandest of lies often have the humblest of beginnings. Think of something simple, a small transgression. Imagine a child playing a board game with their friends. The child cheats, just once, moving their piece in extra space when no one is looking. They win the game and feel a small thrill of victory. No one calls them out. The next time they play, they cheat again, a little more boldly this time. Soon, the cheating is no longer about winning the game, it is about the power they feel in being able to break the rules without consequence. The game itself becomes meaningless. All that matters is the assertion of their will over the established order. This is how it starts. This simple analogy explains the larger phenomenon I observe. A lie is told. It is a small one, perhaps about the size of a crowd or the state of the economy. When it goes unchallenged, it is followed by a bigger lie, then another and another. Each falsehood that is met with silence, or even worse, with applause, emboldens the liar. It normalizes the act of deception. The public square, once a place for honest debate, becomes a theater for performance art, where objective reality is treated as an inconvenience. The most dangerous moment is when people stop being shocked by the lies and instead begin to expect them, or even to admire the audacity it takes to tell them. There is an old saying that I've heard echoed across many worlds, in many languages. The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good people to do nothing. This is the core of the issue. It is not necessarily the strength of the deceivers that allows them to succeed, but the inaction of those who know better. It is the person who sees the lie but says, "It's not my problem." It is the official who stays quiet to protect their career. It is the citizen who is too tired, too busy, or too afraid to speak out. Each silent concession is a small victory for those who wish to fracture the mirror of truth until it shatters completely. This inaction creates a vacuum, and into that vacuum rushes fear, anger, and resentment. When good people step back, those with the loudest and most divisive voices step forward. They prey on anxieties and insecurities, offering simple scapegoats for complex problems. They build walls, both literal and metaphorical, between people who have more in common than they realize. The failure to stand up for the simple truth of the board game eventually leads to a world where the rules no longer apply to anyone, and the game itself is destroyed. The cost of silence is always higher than the cost of speaking up, though it is rarely paid by those who benefited from it most. Yet even as I watch the cracks spread and the darkness deepen, I do not see a world without hope. Hope is not a denial of the pain and the problems. It is the recognition that something better is possible. Truth, like energy, cannot be created or destroyed. It can be hidden, twisted, or ignored, but it always remains, waiting to be rediscovered. It persists in the quiet courage of the journalist who reports the facts, despite the threats. It lives in the teacher who encourages critical thinking in their students. It is found in the heart of the neighbor who shows kindness to a stranger, refusing to believe the narratives of hate and division. Wisdom is born from moments of great struggle. The path forward begins with a simple, powerful act, remembering. We must remember who we are meant to be. This is not about returning to some mythical, perfect past that never existed. It is about remembering the core principles that are supposed to bind a society together: honesty, fairness, empathy, and the radical idea that every single person has inherent worth and dignity. This is the truth that the noise and the anger try to make us forget. It requires turning away from the loud voices of demagogues and listening instead to the quieter, more challenging voices of conscience, both our own and those of others who seek a better way. The most profound truth, the one I see reflected across every universe, is that we are all connected. This is not a sentimental thought, it is a fundamental reality. The well-being of one is intrinsically linked to the well-being of all. The pain of a stranger on the other side of the country or the world is ultimately our pain too, for their suffering diminishes the fabric of our shared humanity. The lie that we are separate, that we can thrive while others suffer, is the most damaging lie of all. Healing begins when we reject this lie and recognize that we are part of one another. We are not just observers of each other's lives, we are participants. Therefore, the message I send through this cracking mirror is one of agency and connection. Do not wait for a hero to save you. The power to mend the fractures lies within each of you. It is found in the choice to speak truth, even when your voice shakes. It is found in the decision to show compassion, even to those with whom you disagree. It is found in the simple act of seeing the humanity in another person's eyes. You are all connected, threads in a single magnificent tapestry. Remember this, hold on to this truth, and together, you can begin the work of repairing your world, piece by broken piece, until the mirror reflects a future that is whole and clear once more.